Hello, everybody, and welcome to No Summary, Golden Thread's online conversations with artists who don't fit in a box. For those of you who don't know, Golden Thread is the first theater company in the U.S. devoted to the Middle East, founded by playwright and director Taranj Yaghiazarian in 1996. I'll be your moderator today. My name is Marina Johnson, and I'm a director, dramaturg, and PhD candidate, and excited to be here today with Marina Barham, who I'll tell you more about momentarily. Golden Thread Productions acknowledges that the land we occupy is the home of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, known colonially today as San Francisco. As we recognize the ancestral stewards of this land and acknowledge that our presence here is a reminder of the dark history of colonization and dispossession, we are outraged by the U.S. administration's complicity in perpetuating the same cycle of oppression, land theft, and genocide in Palestine. Golden Thread Productions is dedicating its entire season to Palestine because we believe it's our duty as artists and culture makers to speak out against injustice and stand with the oppressed. This season is our response to the systemic and continuous erasure of the Palestinian people and the silencing of their stories, culture, and their history. We do this not only for Palestinians, but for our collective humanity. No Summary this year, and in line with Golden Thread's season for Palestine, embarks on a tour of 4 Palestinian cities to offer audiences in the U.S. and beyond a taste of the Palestinian theater scene today. Each episode will spotlight a different theater, showcasing its history, notable performances, challenges, and life behind the scenes through interviews with its artists and community members. We are honored to be joined today by Marina Barham from Masrah Al-Harah in Beit Jala. Marina Barham is the co-founder and general director of Al-Harah Theater, the president of the Palestinian Performing Arts Network from 2019 to 2021. An active cultural operator in Palestine, the Middle East, and in Europe since 1998, Marina is a fellow of ISPA, International Society for the Performing Arts, and Salzburg Global Seminar, the International Network for Contemporary Performing Arts Global Connector, and she's also a board member in 2023. She's a trainer in the field of cultural management in the Arab world since 2006 with Al-Marad Resource, Tamasi Collective, and Goethe Institute in Berlin and in Palestine. She is a speaker at several international conferences, festivals, and events. For the folks who are here with us in the Zoom room, but also those tuning into the live stream on HowlRound, we welcome you. And for those who are here with us, please feel free to utilize the chat function to post your comments and questions throughout the conversation. Today, we'll be talking about the work that Al-Harah Theater creates and how it has been affected during the ongoing genocide. Marina, it's great to be with you today on Zoom and inshallah soon in person.
Thank you very much, Marina.
How are you?
It's a very complicated question, actually.
Yeah.
We have been, for the last 9 months, living our ups and downs. Some days we cannot get up, cannot work, and we cannot think, and we keep watching the news on daily basis. We are in touch with friends in Gaza to see how they are, and actually we don't dare even ask them how they are. We just ask them, can you tell me if you're okay? Because it's a difficult question. So some days we push ourselves and we say we have to get up, we have to do things, we have to continue, we have to try to be creative in finding solutions, to continue our work as a theater, and also to continue trying to support artists in Gaza because they are living in a difficult and complicated situation where they're displaced more than 10 times in the last 9 months. So I'm okay. I have had some good days recently because I am trying to reach out to different people and also to educate people about what is happening and to explain the situation. So if you allow, Marina, I'm going to try and share a screen to try and explain a little bit the context, because I know that a lot of people know the context, but still it's important to share this context with them. So,
Absolutely.
so to explain, Palestine has been losing a lot of lands from even before 1917 and onwards, and then in 1947. And as you can see, the original map of Palestine and how by every year it started shrinking until today, we have divided areas of the West Bank, and we have the Gaza Strip, and we have small dots of green, which is Palestine distributed in different areas. So our space is shrinking not only by the land, but also by movement, by freedom of expression, by continuous oppression on a daily basis. And I wanted to explain to people that it hasn't started from the 7th of October. You know, the story of Palestine started a long time ago, and the oppression by the Israeli occupation continued on many, many, many years. Almost today, it's 75 years. And people in Gaza have not started the 7th of October incidents from vague. You know, they have been under siege for 17 or 18 years. And this is like the 4th or 5th war they have lived. I have friends who are teenagers and who say they have lived 4 wars. Imagine a teenager living 4 different wars. And the situation in Gaza is not only the genocide that you hear about on daily basis. Also in the West Bank, since the 7th of October, over 7,000 people have been arrested in the West Bank, and over 650 people have been killed. Heads of cultural organizations, like the head of the Freedom Theater, Mr. Mustafa Shika, the head of Ibda' Cultural Center, Mr. Khalid Saifi, artists from the Palestinian Circus School, artists from Al-Funun dance group have been arrested. And usually what they do is they sentence them to administrative detention because they do not have any evidence against them. Not only that, but violence from settlers, from the Israeli occupation military, have increased tremendously on different areas like Jenin, Tulkarem, Hebron, and Bethlehem. And this has caused a lot of fear among people. It took me almost 6 months to be able to leave Bethlehem, which was completely closed, to go to Ramallah. And I was so worried, so scared to go to Ramallah because on the checkpoints, there were several stories of people being arrested because they had any kind of material or post on their mobiles about Gaza. So for almost 2 weeks, I was having nightmares, and I was trying to erase everything on my mobile. And I even thought to change my mobile into these little Nokia mobiles that don't have any cameras or any status or any social media, to be able to go to Ramadan. So this is how we have been living for the last 9 months. And this fear has been traumatizing for everyone, from a child to older woman to younger men to people with disability. Everyone has been traumatized because of this.
Thank you, Marina, for that context. I think that hopefully people watching know that this started way before October 7th, but the context you gave is so helpful because the US media would have you really believe otherwise. You mentioned traveling, and I think just for people who are listening, because Al-Harah is in Beit Jala, Can you tell us where Beit Jala is, especially in relationship to Bethlehem or other places maybe they've heard of too?
Well, Beit Jala is a very small town on a mountain, which is about 5 minutes away by car to Bethlehem. And if the roads are open, it's about 20 minutes away from Jerusalem. But sadly, we cannot go to Jerusalem because we have West Bank ID card, and this means we need to have a permit to enter Jerusalem. And since October 7th, none of the West Bank people can enter Jerusalem. Even employees of international organizations cannot go to Jerusalem for their work because they canceled all the permits to enter Jerusalem. And Beit Jala is the name means the house of grass, because they say there was a story that there was a king called Jala who looked on the valley. It has green on the valley. That's why they called it Beit Jala, which is 5 minutes away from the Nativity Church by car.
Thank you. It's a beautiful place, Beit Jala, and so just for people to have the context. And when you were talking about going to Ramallah, how long does it usually take you to get from Beit Jala to Ramallah?
Well, this is another story, because to go to Ramallah, we have to use a different road. We cannot use the Jerusalem road to go to Ramallah. So we have to use a road called the Valley of Fire. And this is an old Roman road that was created by the Romans a long time ago. So it's very steep, it's very hilly, it's very dangerous during rain, during the winter time. And usually in normal days, it takes 2 hours to get to it. But since October, sometimes it takes 5 hours, because the entrances to Ramallah, there's only one entrance open. So it's full of traffic. So sometimes it takes 5 hours. Sometimes if the checkpoint called Container, which is near Bethany, is closed, you can stay to 10 hours to be able to cross and get to Ramallah. That's why the idea of closing the cities from each other and putting checkpoints everywhere is just to isolate the cities, the Palestinian districts and the areas from each other. So it's very difficult to go to Jenin, to go to Tulkarem, Nablus. We haven't seen our partners in Jenin and Tulkarem and Nablus for over 9 months. So it's not easy. Mobility is so complicated. And we're talking about internal mobility in the West Bank, which means that as Palestinians living in the West Bank, we're allowed to go to our cities, but these cities are divided and are like small boxes, different areas, by closed roads and by checkpoints.
Yeah, I appreciate the description, and I've been hearing about all of the new checkpoints popping up too. So it's horrifying to hear about all of the different ways that people are being cut off. And really, I mean, that's the goal of the colonizer, is to separate and keep people from being able to be in community with each other. And Al-Harah has such a beautiful community. I've had the privilege of getting to, of course, be with you in person and see Al-Harah's work. And I was wondering if you could tell our audience about how you created Al-Harah, and what that process was like. And then we can talk some more about the work that Al-Harah creates.
Sure. Well, first, I have to explain what is the meaning of Al-Harah. Al-Harah means the neighborhood. And when we wanted to choose a name in 2005, we wanted something that is close to the community, that is that gives us some kind of inspiration from the community. And because from Al-Harah we have stories, we have conflicts, we have relationships, that's why we chose Al-Harah. And we tried the word Al-Harah on our international friends, and it was a disaster, because they were saying Al-Harah instead of Al-Harah. And Al-Harah means shit. So we were really thinking whether we should change it or not. And then we started saying, no, we will teach our friends how to say it with ha and not with ka. From the beginning, we believe as a group of people who started Al-Harah that theater is a powerful tool to create positive change in the community. It's a powerful tool to create awareness, to create productions that are close to our community. And that's why we chose this name. We were established in 2005. We are located in Beit Jala, but we are a touring company. So we go to all the cities, refugee camps, towns, the villages, all over the West Bank when we can, because recently we could not. And when we are very lucky, we can get to Jerusalem with a permit if we have a group of actors who have a permit to go to perform in Jerusalem. So when there's a chance to go to perform in Jerusalem, we celebrate and we immediately contact our colleagues at the National Theatre in Jerusalem to perform there, to reach our audiences in Jerusalem. So this is how Al-Harah started, and it was a group of people who are an actor, a director, and I wasn't involved in theater except a long time ago in Al-Harah Theater, and then for me to come to the theater world, I've been learning all my skills through experience and through making mistakes and learning from my mistakes and so on. So this is how we started Al-Harah Theater. If you want me to tell you a little bit more about what we do, then we produce theater for children, youth, and adults. And we try to tour with our productions in different cities and towns and villages. Sometimes we try to tour regionally, so in Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia, wherever is possible to reach. And we also have international touring. So, for example, next year we're trying to organize a tour of a play called Marina to Denmark and Sweden. And it's a play that talks about the Nakba in 1948. And also we included a part about also our second, third, and fourth displacement of people like now in Gaza. We also have different programs. So we have a program on women, on children and young people, a program for people with disability, where we produce theater for them. We try to include them in our shows, and we also try to create productions that can create awareness in the community, and also create more knowledge about how powerful theater can impact people's mental ideas, ideologies, and so on. And the last program that we have is capacity building of artists and technicians. Because in Palestine, we don't have a university that teaches theater or directing or playwriting or even technical needs like costume, light, sound, scenography, and all of this. So we have been training people in Palestine to work in the performing arts field as these 6 fields. And then we started training also young emerging directors. And these young emerging directors, we bring international directors to give workshops, and then we try and give them a small grant to produce their own play, and then they perform it either in our Bethlehem site-specific festival that I will show you pictures of, and also on Palestine International Children and Youth Theater Festival, and our Yalla Yalla Street Carnival that I will show you also picture of soon.
Amazing. Al-Harah does so much. And just to hear you describe it, I'm like, well, you know, it's amazing the way that Al-Harah is responding to the community and working with what the community needs as far as storytelling, but also what the community needs as far as training goes. So The first productions I saw by Al-Harah were children's plays that you were touring in different places. And so I see, I mean, I think the children's theater really responds to what children in the community are needing. But in that particular children's theater, uh, when I saw those shows in the festival, you had also trained the people who were working on them, right? The directors and the writers to write specifically for children's theater. So I would love if you could talk more about those, but I also think you were hosting an International Children's Theater Festival this past October or November that was canceled
Yes.
because of the genocide. So yeah, let's have you talk more about your children's theater and the training that
Sure.
you've also done there.
Well, for us, children are really the most important beneficiaries that we work with. And the reason is that children in Palestine need to feel as children, even for a short period of time during a performance, during a training, and so on, because they live in a very, very unhealthy environment where they do not feel they are children, they don't live their childhood. So through our productions, we try to use music, color, and dance just to let them enjoy being children even for 1 hour at a time. And that's why we feel it's important to develop children's theater, to develop playwriting for children and directing for children. And last year, as you said, Marina, we had prepared everything for the Palestine International Theater Festival for Children. It was supposed to happen on the 13th of October. And we were going to host 8 international companies from all over the world, from Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, Scotland, Sweden, all kinds of them. And then we woke up on the 7th of October and we tried to contact our partners to tell them at least to cancel their tickets so they won't lose their tickets because they were coming. Everything was prepared and we had to cancel everything and postpone it to this year. And even this year, we will not be able to have it. So we're postponing it to next year. So producing theater for children is one of the most components of the Al-Harah Theater work. And to be honest, it's also the most needed because children in Palestine don't have a lot. So to have a festival for them, it's the only children festival that takes place. And recently also at the Palestinian National Theater, they started having a puppet theater for children, which is good. So there's a lot of interest. You know, families come with their parents, families come with their children. Usually we used to see mothers coming with their children. Now it's the father and the mother coming with their children, which is great to see. So it's one of the most important and most impactful work that we do for children because of the situation of children in Pakistan.
I really appreciate that. And I noticed that when I was sitting in the audience and I was like, whole families are here. This isn't just a mom and a kid. This is the entire family has come to see these plays. They have quite the reputation for being not only good, like good productions, but I think thought-provoking and productions that get kids excited for them.
Yes.
Just
we
really
try
meaningful.
to have a high quality artistic work even for children because sometimes they think that children theater is really easy. It's not. It's the most difficult to do is children theater. It's more difficult than theater for adults, to be honest, because it's a responsibility. And children are like a sponge, so they take whatever they see. And we try to really be very, very careful. And we study, and we even have children come and see the play before we open it, just to understand whether they really follow, whether there are things that maybe we shouldn't have. We even invite teachers sometimes to see so we can really take the responsibility for anything we put forward. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, even beyond children's theater, Al-Harah creates plays that respond to local issues. So one of my favorite plays that I have not seen through Al-Harah, but that was published in an anthology that Samar Sabar published with Gary. But Shakespeare's Sisters, this really beautiful play that I mean, it moves me to tears every time I read it. And I believe that was also responding to local issues.
Yeah.
Can you speak at all about that play?
Yeah, sure. Actually, Shakespeare's play, Shakespeare's Sisters, is very personal to me because the idea came from my own experience. Being a single woman over over 50 now, but over 35 when we did the play, and how the Palestinian society treats women who are divorced, who are single, who are widowed in Palestine. We have a very, very, sometimes in some areas, we have a very patriarchal society. And, usually women are the most to suffer. And usually women are also judged a lot, and they do not have a lot of kind of freedom. So we did a research, a researcher at Bethlehem University who passed away a few years ago, she went and interviewed women in different areas in the West Bank. And based on her research, we took the stories, the real stories of women, and we had a director from Italy who was coming to direct the show. His name is Pietro Floridia. And everything was set and ready to start the rehearsals. He arrived at Tel Aviv airport. Then he disappeared. I sent a car to pick him up. He never showed up. And we started calling Italy. Nobody knew where he was. So I was really worried. For almost 24 hours, I didn't hear anything about him. So he calls from Italy and he says, Marina, I've been stopped at the airport in Tel Aviv, and then they stamped my passport, not allowed to enter for 5 years, and they sent me back to Italy. He said, but if you provide me with Skype, at that time we didn't have Zoom. So if you provide Skype, I'm willing to direct the show. And I said, are you crazy? How can you direct the show from Italy to Palestine with your bad English, with Palestinian actors? And he said, just talk to the team and see. So we felt as a team that it was an artistic challenge and it was also a political challenge. So we decided to do it. We worked with the group for almost 5 weeks online with Arabic, English, Italian, mixed kind of languages until it reached a stage where we said we have to have him with the team. So I organized for the team to go to Jordan, and we had a 1-week rehearsal in Jordan. He came. We opened the play in Jordan, and then we took it back to Palestine on tour. It also went to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. It's one of the most beautiful and most dear plays to my heart, and it really impacted a lot of women, impacted a lot of people in the community, and I was very happy that you also did it at your university, Marina, so it's great. So we do a lot of work on women's rights. We do work on inclusion of people with disability in the performing arts, and now we have an actress, the first female actress who has visual disability, who is in 5 of our productions, and now she has a stand-up comedy show that she talks about the challenges she faces in her life. Her name is Sharihan Hadway. She's also amazing, and hopefully she will take the show to, she's invited to Shubak Festival in London next year.
Wow.
So we try to see what is needed in the society, but we do it with a very high artistic quality, with good directors, to really impact people locally and internationally.
Well, and I think, I mean, just from seeing how people responded to Shakespeare's Sisters in the States, I mean, a lot of women said, like, this really resonates with me.
Yes.
And we're so grateful for the creation of this play.
Yeah.
And for people who are listening, I think on the Al-Harah Facebook, at least the last time I looked, you also have a disability like mini series that you had created So, I mean, you're really doing work that's accessible in different media also for people to see. And I think Sherry is on in the show.
Yes. During COVID, we had to find another way to contact with our audiences, and that's why we started producing lead series, web series, and also short films. And we also even transformed one of our plays called To Live into 3 short films. Also, this year, because of the situation, we cannot perform easily. So what we were doing in the last 8 months is we have been concentrating on doing psychosocial drama sessions for children in different schools in the Bethlehem area, because schools were really requesting this. We have been doing also psychosocial drama sessions for people with disability on a weekly basis. Every Saturday we have a group with different abilities. We also have been doing this with women groups in the Isha camp, in our theater for women from different villages around Bethlehem. And what we also started doing also since last November is to take stories of children and women who were killed in Gaza, who are martyred, and tell their life story. Not that they are only numbers, but to tell their names, their life stories. And it started really with one of the children who was killed. His name is Yusuf, and his mother was looking for him in hospitals. And she kept saying, "Have you seen Yusuf? He has curly hair, he has blue eyes, he has white skin." And she kept calling for him. Then she told his story. So my colleague Nicola, who is an actor, has been recording this as stories, like a podcast. And we have been putting subtitles in English and sharing them on social media with groups, with even activists in different countries who wanted to use materials from Gaza. We have been recording almost, I think, 20 or 25 stories. And we have been also advocating and educating people online to sort of update them about what is happening here and in Gaza and in the West Bank. So this is what we have been doing in the last 8 months. We've been trying also to find ways to survive, because also what happened in 2019 is that we lost most of our funders, especially the EU, because in 2019, the EU got a lot of pressure from the Zionist movement in different European countries to have. Am I sharing? No.
You're sharing. We see the Facebook. I think that you wanted
Yeah.
us to see the power. So.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So sorry for the technical problems. So from 2019, the EU have added a new condition, political condition, on their funding to the Palestinian organizations, where they consider 7 Palestinian political factions as terrorists. So if we accept this as civil society organizations, it means we incriminate our people. So we stopped accepting funds from the EU, from the Swedish International Development Agency, from the Germans, and so on. And we have been negotiating with them to change their condition, but they didn't. So we lost. These were the main funders for arts and culture in Pakistan. And since the beginning of war on Gaza, we also felt that we cannot accept funding from the governments who have been supporting Israel with weapons. And it means that we are losing a lot of our resources that covers our costs and so on, to make us continue, because we completely depend on international funding. We don't have local funding, and culture is the last on the priority of the Palestinian Authority, so we don't have really any support. So that's why these were some of the challenges, including all the oppression of the Israeli occupation. Marina, if you allow me, I would like to share some of the pictures of our work so people can see some of the work. So these are pictures from the Yalla Yalla street carnival that we do. We made giant puppets together with a company from France called Giant Puppets, and we usually have it every year. Last year we couldn't have it because of the situation. So these are some of the pictures from the festival in Ramallah. We had it in Ramallah, in Bethlehem, in Beit Jala, and in Birzeit, and also in Bethlehem, as you see near the Rachel's tomb and near the wall. And these are some of the pictures of the street festival. And these are some of our plays. This is a play called Khararif, which means gossip. It was based on Eugene. He's a Roman writer who wrote this play in 1916, which is talks about a couple who were stuck in a room and they were surrounded by confrontations and how their relationship changes. This is Meramiya, which will go to Denmark and Sweden next year, and we're hoping to take it, if possible, to the United States and to Latin America in the future. These are some of our video work and our spots for different films. This is Sharihan, and this is a play called Darkness and Light. It talks about the right of women with disability to be married, to have children, to raise children, to work in art if they wanted. So, and this is Sharihan, the stand-up comedy show. And this is a children play called Italian for little kids, 3 to 6 years old. And this is our Bethlehem site-specific festival. As you see, we have it in old houses, old squares, in different cities, in the old city of Bethlehem, Beit Jala, and also Hebron. This is inside the house, so people walk with the artists inside the house. And this is another performance. And these are some of the things that we usually do with our work, and I wanted to share these visuals with you to see a little bit visually.
Yeah, the pictures are gorgeous, Marina. Thank you so much for showing them to us. I want to remind those people who are tuning in now that this is No Summary, Golden Threads online conversations with artists who don't fit in a box. And we are here with Marina Barham from Al-Harah Theater in Beit Jala. And yeah,
Al-Harah Theater.
Al-Harah Theater. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I thought you were, yes, and we just saw some beautiful pictures that Al-Harah had created of different projects. And Marina, on that note, so I want to invite people in the Zoom room, so please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We're happy to see them. We had a great comment from someone who, Marina, was thanking you for the great work that you and Al-Harah do, and that they were going to look at the recorded link later. But if others have questions, please put them in. But Marina, you were just talking about the Bethlehem site-specific theater festival, and I got to see it last year, and I would love to just talk in a little bit more detail about some of the pieces, because I was so struck. I know that this past year, the performances were in Beit Jala, Bethlehem, and Hebron.
Yes.
And there were interviews done in each of those places. And then from the interviews, the short plays were created that were then put back in each community. So a story was coming out and then sort of being told again to that community, which I thought was a really beautiful concept. Can you talk more about how the site-specific theater festival happens, and also some of the stories and interviews?
Yeah, well, the idea of the site-specific started in 2020, after COVID started in Palestine and the world. And at that period, in 2020, Bethlehem was the Arab capital of culture. But of course, because of COVID, we couldn't celebrate Bethlehem. So what we did is at the beginning of 2020, just before they had the lockdown in Beit Jala. Beit Jala was the first city to have lockdown in the Middle East, because we had a group staying at a hotel in Beit Jala, at Angel Hotel, and they left when they arrived in Greece. They checked them and they had COVID. So Beit Jala was the first to be under lockdown on the 5th of March. Just a week before, we had a workshop with Gridiron from Scotland on how to direct shows in different sites. And as a result, we were planning that 5 directors would direct their own shows. But of course, because of COVID, we couldn't do it. So we postponed it till 2021. And the Bethlehem Site Specific Festival was the first event and festival to happen in Bethlehem, in outside courtyard and old houses, open spaces, as a way to really be able to have festivals, because we couldn't have them inside theaters. The idea was to collect stories from older people, old houses stories, and to give these stories to the different directors to write concepts about how they see directing this play. And we also chose old spaces, and they chose which one's suitable for their own shows, and they produced their shows. And then we had people coming to old houses, to old squares, both in, we had it the first time in Bethlehem and Beit Jala. Then last year we had it in Bethlehem, Beit Jala, and the old city in Hebron. The old city in Hebron is so hard to live in, because there is an Israeli settlement in the middle of the old city. So to revive the old spaces in the old city and to give the community a place where they can celebrate these old houses and old people was amazing. And seeing the old people who saw their stories, one in front of them, was so emotional, was so filled of gratitude, that we really recognized their stories, their life stories, and celebrated them with different generations. It was beautiful, magnificent. We really were very happy, and they were very happy with these performances. And we hope to continue this next year, hopefully.
Inshallah. It's so meaningful that you're able to really, I mean, theater and storytelling is about so much about community and about making these stories known to different people, and especially because Al-Harah does tour different stories too. So it's nice to be able to hear and know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
You were talking about what you're working on right now with some of the different projects, and you would use the term that I don't think we use as much in the United States with, was it psychosocial theater projects? Can you talk more about what those projects look like? Because they seem like maybe what we would call drama therapy projects. And so I'm curious to know more.
They're not projects, but they are sessions that were created to help children and women, people with disability, feel to have a safe space where they can express their feelings, their fears, their emotions, their trauma that they have been living through in this period, through drama exercises, through sometimes psychological exercises. So it's not really drama therapy, because we're not drama therapists, but it was a combination of things all together that help children, women, people with disability to feel safe enough to talk freely about their dreams, their nightmares, their fears, their issues that they face, because sometimes they're judged at school, they're judged by their parents, Sometimes we don't talk about our weaknesses and about fears in front of anybody. So this is a safe space where they can do this. And that's why we have been concentrating a lot on this. We have done almost 100 sessions of psychosocial drama, which is a mixture of all what I've been saying. And we had some of our trainers work together to develop this session that has been very helpful for all groups that we've been working with. And to talk about what we're preparing now, we are preparing for 2 art summer camps for children, because now schools are holiday. And it was a difficult school year, because sometimes they were online, sometimes they were on strike, sometimes they were not going to school. So we thought that it would be good to have a special artistic summer camp for children aged 6 to 10 years, where they would have dance, recycling, creating music instruments from recycled materials, theater, puppet making, and circus things for a period of 2 weeks, where they come every day from 10 to 2 and enjoy their time, because there isn't a lot for them to do things during the summer. So it's not only us, actually. A lot of theaters, a lot of organizations are organized some summer camp, but we're trying to make it more artistic than anything else.
Sounds like someone would be very excited to go to this summer camp in the summer. Wow. And so besides, so you're doing the psychosocial sessions, the summer camp is coming up. You mentioned the work that Nicola is also doing with Al-Harah, generally about putting women and children's voices from Gaza online and accessible, so that people are really hearing them and not just digesting some news stories here and there about what's happening. You also mentioned that the festival might be rescheduled, not for this next year, but for the upcoming year.
Yes. Not for this year, but for next year. Yes.
The next one, yeah. It sounds like there are so many things on Al-Harah's plate. How are you, and I know you actually are leaving to do speaking, because you do advocacy work too. Can you talk a little bit about that work that you'll be doing?
Sure. Actually, what happened is that in March, I discovered that I have a valid visa to the UK until the end of July. So I thought, okay, I asked some of my friends in the UK, especially theaters, and I said, if I come to the UK and speak at theaters and different venues, do you think this would be useful? And they said, yes, very much. So for the last 2 months, I've been contacting different theaters, different artists, different friends in different cities, and I managed to organize 16 different events in 15 different cities all over the UK, from London to Plymouth to Chester to York to Manchester, Derby, Edinburgh, Glasgow, everywhere. So what is happening is my sister lives in London, so we're renting a car. She's going to drive me from one city to the other. We didn't have any funding for this tour, for anything. So a friend of mine created a GoFundMe campaign to try and ask people to donate money towards the cost of the tour in the UK. I've been asked by so many in different cities, not only to have the events, but to have meetings with artists. The idea is to first educate people about what is happening, open opportunities for new collaborations with new theaters in the UK, try to exchange with artists and network with British and Scottish artists and Welsh artists, and also to create something called Shining Stars Friends of Al-Harah Theater Bethlehem in the UK, so they can be more involved, more engaged in our work, and try to support our work in the future. So I'm hoping that we will have more Friends of Al-Harah now in the UK after this tour. And this is part of the advocacy work that we do, and also to tell our friends and especially artists in the UK about what is happening. So I will try to share the GoFundMe campaign with you on chat. And, please come and see. I will also try to share, I'll see if I can share the schedule here. And if people are in the UK or if they have friends there, please ask them to come to the different locations, because I will be in different places in the UK. So I hope I will see some of them in these places.
Definitely. So the GoFundMe is now in the chat for anyone who is able to see it in the current room where we are. If you're on the live stream, the GoFundMe is titled Al-Harah Theater, a voice for theater and culture in Palestine. And so if you're on GoFundMe, you should be able to search that title and it should come up for you. So if you're watching it outside of the Zoom room, hopefully you'll be able to see that. And Marina, thank you, because this advocacy work is so important, and it's so important to hear Palestinians who are working in the arts who are doing this and let us know what the situation on the ground is in the West Bank. What is your advice for artists who are trying to make art now? And what is your advice for people who are looking to support Palestine? Do you have thoughts that you might want to share with people who are trying to figure out what they can best do?
Sure. I think really it's very, very important to keep talking about Palestine, and not only about Palestine, about justice, because we're not talking about only Palestine. There are lots of people in the world that are under occupation and have a lot of wars happening. But the most important thing that came out of this genocide against Gaza is that students, organizations, people in the world realize that they are living in a fake democracy, also a fake belief in freedom of expression. And to be honest, seeing what is happening at universities and in different cities on weekly basis and daily basis tells us that nobody is safe. Nobody can be living and expressing themselves freely. So please do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to get sacked out of your work. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. And don't be afraid to talk about whatever you want to talk about, because this is part of human rights, to have the right to express yourself freely without fearing anybody, without fearing any control by any government or anybody, because we have the right to talk, we have the right to say what we are thinking. So I really appreciate what is happening all over the world, globally. Take action by telling your friends, by continuing activism, by also inviting artists or inviting work from Palestine to your country, because arts is the language of the world, and it could really impact people by seeing a production about Palestine, about our work. For us, one of the things I've been really asking people, because theaters, and not only theaters, but theaters and performing art organizations, we're losing our support. So I ask and invite big theaters, big performing arts companies to adopt a theater, adopt a circus, adopt a music school in Palestine, to continue our work with children, with young people, with women. They all need us to continue working and stop the government from giving weapons to continue the genocide against people in Gaza. People in Gaza have reached a state where they cannot take it. I have friends who keep telling me every single day they try to find a place to sleep. They try to find water. They try to find food. They try to feel the minimum of safety somewhere. And all of this, if the governments of the world decide to stop it, they can stop it. But there is a kind of hypocrisy and double standards towards different countries. And I say, stop the war on Ukraine and stop the war on Palestine, stop the war in Sudan, stop the war everywhere against people, because it's part of respecting human rights and justice.
And it should never be controversial to say to stop a war. It's insane that it has become controversial to do that. But you're right that if governments wanted to do it, they could, and it's on us to put the pressure on them, especially if we're living in a place like the United States or the UK, to really pressure our governments to do what they need to do and what they should have done months ago. I love your idea of larger theaters and the who can support theaters who might need this funding support, especially because you outlined so clearly that after 2019, the funding that you were able to receive took a big hit because you're not willing to submit to these ludicrous demands from different funding agencies. And so if people can support the work of Al-Harah, that's amazing. And so I'm hoping people that are listening are able to do that, or able to encourage a local theater that you know to do that work as well.
Yes.
You and Al-Harah teach us samud, steadfastness, through all of this. And so we thank you for being this light here for us as well. I noticed you posted the schedule in the chat.
I posted on the chat as a PDF because I couldn't post it as a link yet.
Okay, I don't think it's opening for me. I think PDFs can be tricky on Zoom, but if there's a way, is it possible for you to share your screen for the PDF, and that way we can just maybe announce the dates out loud?
I can share it. Let me try to share it. 1 second. Let me see. This is a bit tricky, but let's see. Yes, can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I will go down. I will be London, Plymouth. I can send it by email to someone.
And people who are watching the live stream can also see this. So this is great. I mean, people can pause the link and go back if they need to look at a particular date, but you really are going everywhere.
Yes, people, I'm still getting requests, and I said I don't have any more dates, before my visa finishes. So, and in addition to these events, I've been asked by theaters, by artists to meet them separately. I've been also asked by the Staff Union, the Arts Council, to speak to them. So this is. Some places are small venues, some places are big venues. So I will try to do something. Let me try and see if I can get it as a picture. Or I will put my email and I can send it to anybody by email if they are interested.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
So this is my email.
Excellent. Thank you, Marina. Well, we have come to the end of our conversation for today. Thank you so much, Marina, for this amazing description of everything that Al-Harah does. Seeing the work that you specifically do as a person is very inspiring, and I'm so grateful for you and for everyone who got to hear you speak today, to hear about what you are doing and what this beautiful company in Beit Jala is also doing.
Thank you very much, Marina, and thank you all for being there. I'm not sure who's there, but I hope that there are lots of people who are hearing us and giving us time. I think this shows that you are people who are humane, which is very, very important. So thank you very much, and please pray for stopping the genocide against Gaza, and also for justice for everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you, Marina, and thank you, Golden Thread Company. Thank you, Sahar and Windy and everyone.
Yes. I would like to thank HowlRound for hosting this program. And as a reminder, all No Summary episodes live on Golden Thread's YouTube channel and HowlRound's website. Thank you to Wendy Reyes, our live stream technician, and to the rest of Golden Thread's team, Sahar, Michelle, Sheila, Linda, and Sumuna. And a big thank you, of course, to our audiences. Next week, No Summary will host a conversation with Amar from Al-Harah Theater, moderated by Kate Moorahini, on June 13th at 11 a.m. For more information, you can visit Golden Thread's website at goldenthread.org or join the email list to stay on top of all of the programs and events that Golden Thread has to offer. Thank you and goodbye for now.
Thank you.